After you have been denied the F1 visa the first or the second time, you may have doubts about your ability to get a visa. But don't worry, I've got proven tips to help you prepare for your next interview. By the end of this video, I'll tell you all you need to know in order to ace your next visa interview. If you are new here, my name is ShaiPod and I make videos about how to study abroad, how to pass your visa interview, and how to navigate life in a foreign country. Consider subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss any of my future videos. Before deciding to go for the next visa interview, it is important to understand why your first visa interview application was rejected. You have to address those concerns before your next visa interview. There is a good chance that the visa officer will ask you what has changed since your last interview. There is actually a reason why your visa was denied, and so you must be able to tell him or her what has changed. If nothing has changed, you have no reason to reapply for the visa. Let's look at possible reasons that you can give. Number one, it could be because the visa officer did not know that you had full funding and thought you cannot fund your education. Never assume that the visa officer knows you have funding by looking on your I-20 form. So in your second or in your third interview, you could tell the visa officer that you forgot to indicate you had full funding in your previous interview. Number two, it is possible that you did not have funding in your previous interview, but you now have full or partial funding from the school. Number three, it could be that you have a new better sponsor with a new bank statement. Sometimes the sponsor that you presented may not be credible. So in your second or in your third interview, you have to present a credible person as your sponsor. Number four, it could also be because you forgot some documents. So you can tell the consular officer that you have all the documents that you failed to present in your previous interview. Maybe the school delayed with those documents, or the offer for funding came after the interview. Number five, maybe you were single, but now you are married, and this shows you have strong ties. Maybe you have a fiancé that you want to return home to marry after your studies, and that your family will not support your marriage to anyone else. And so that means you have to return home in 2 years to marry this person. Remember that during your visa interview, you are considered an intending immigrant, and the onus is on you to prove your intent to return home after your studies. Number six, maybe you were jobless before the interview, but you now have a good job, and that shows that you are not desperate to get a visa. After all, you have a good job in your country. Number seven, maybe you could not show that you are a legitimate student. And so what has changed is that you have realized that you failed to articulate your reasons for studying abroad due to being nervous, and now you have worked on your confidence and you are ready to answer questions properly. You should also pay attention to other questions that you were asked during your previous interview. It is not always about the last question that you were asked. If you watch my videos, there is a good chance that you know why you were denied. There was someone I coached in 2017 who was denied a visa on his first 2 interviews. So in the third one, all we had to do was to change the sponsor. And so when he was asked what has changed, he simply said he has a new sponsor who is another uncle who has always been keen on his education, and that his previous sponsor's funds will also be available if he needs it. It's always a good idea to add that the funds from your previous sponsor will also be available to support extra expenses that may come up. You must try to identify something that has changed about your situation. The visa officer is likely going to ask you this question, so you must prepare for it. Make sure you do not reapply if nothing significantly has changed about your situation. When you reapply after a previous denial, the visa officer will assume that you don't deserve the visa based on what the previous visa officer has concluded. So you must start your answer with a change so that they can try to give you a fair chance of passing. You can always try to figure out something based on how your previous interview went. Remember that if you say nothing has changed, any question that the visa officer may ask you after that is probably a mere formality, and nothing answer already concludes the interview. Once you have figured out a good change in your situation, make sure you practice many times and let someone with years of experience provide you feedback on your answers. If you have been denied a visa before, my video on the F1 visa interview mental preparations can be very helpful. Make sure you check it out after this video. I also have many videos covering likely questions and sample answers, so do well to check them out and personalize these answers. Now I want you to pay attention to the following points. Number one, since you failed your first visa interview, you have to be prepared to answer tougher questions in your subsequent interview. The subsequent interview may also take a bit longer because the visa officer needs a lot of convincing. He or she may ask you more detailed questions about your travel plans, your finances, and your ties to your home country. So you have to be prepared to provide specific information and documentation to support your answers. Number two, if you have failed your previous visa interview, you should not go again without a mock interview with someone who can simulate the actual visa interview experience. This will help you become more comfortable and confident in answering the questions. Number 3, you should also dress well to create a good first impression. Dressing actually helps a lot. Appear confident and likable. Remaining calm and composed during your second interview is also very important. Don't be angry or sad about anything. Remember that the visa officers are just doing their job and they may ask you difficult questions to verify your intentions. So you have to stay polite and confident in your answers. Another thing is to ensure that you have all the required documents plus additional documents to prove your case. So these additional documents could include your proof of ties to your home country, such as property ownership, marriage certificate, or a job offer letter. I have mentioned in one of my videos that do not force documents on the visa officer. Let them ask for them first. If you have time to watch the videos on your screen, I believe that you'll be 2x more confident preparing for your visa interview. I hope this video has been very helpful. If you have found it very helpful, kindly subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends, and make sure you give the video a like. I wish you good luck, and I'll see you in my next video.